So have you tried to catch a flight in India lately? If you have, you've probably hit a total wall of chaos. I mean, we're talking about massive cancellations, delays that seem to go on forever, and airports just absolutely packed with people. Today, we're going to dig in and figure out what's really grounding the entire nation.
All right, let's just start with a number to give you a sense of the scale here. Get this. In just a few days, one airline, IndiGo, canceled over 500 flights. Yeah, 500. This isn't just some minor disruption, you know. It's a full-blown crisis that's left hundreds of thousands of people completely stranded.
And you can see the fallout right here on this chart. I mean, IndiGo basically built its whole reputation on being reliable, right? They were always boasting about an on-time performance above 80%. But just look at this nosedive, all the way down to 19.7%. That's not a dip, that's an absolute collapse. It sent shockwaves through the entire system.
So a number like that is pretty shocking, but what does it actually feel like for the people on the ground, for the passengers? Well, the title here says it all. It translates to chaos at the airports, and honestly, that's putting it mildly.
Okay, so picture this. Airports all over the country, just complete and utter mayhem. Passengers are dealing with these crazy long delays, flights are getting canceled out of the blue, and nobody's getting any information from the airline. People were stuck for so long that food stalls at some airports literally ran out of food. And in places like Pune, you had planes just sitting there, ready to go, but with no pilots to actually fly them. Just incredible.
So this all begs a really big question, right? How can problems at just one airline cause a total meltdown for the entire country? Well, the answer comes down to just how massive, how important IndiGo really is.
And wow, this chart really tells the whole story, doesn't it? IndiGo isn't just one of the airlines. They control about 60% of all domestic flights in India. 60%! That's not really competition, is it? It's basically a monopoly. And that right there shows you just how vulnerable the whole system is.
So how did they get so big? Well, they have the country's largest fleet of planes and the biggest flight network, period. They fly more routes to more places day and night than anyone else. So it's pretty simple, really. When IndiGo has a problem, the entire country's aviation system feels it.
All right, so if one airline is that dominant, what on earth could bring it to its knees like this? You know, it wasn't some huge technical failure or a massive storm. The real reason? It all comes down to a brand new set of rules.
So this is the real question, isn't it? Why is all of this happening? What are these new rules, and why did they cause such a colossal breakdown, seemingly overnight?
The answer has a fancy name, FDTL. That stands for Flight Duty Time Limitation. Basically, these are new safety rules from the government, and the goal is actually really simple and really important, making sure pilots and the crew get enough rest, to prevent them from getting exhausted, and of course, to keep everyone safe up in the air.
Now here's the thing. This did not just come out of nowhere. The DGCA, that's the Aviation Authority, they announced these rules a full 2 years ago. They gave everyone a long heads up. Phase 1 rolled out back in July, and things were mostly fine. The real chaos? That started on November 1st, when the much stricter Phase 2 kicked in.
Okay, so let's break down the 3 biggest changes that really cause all the trouble. First up, pilots now have to get 48 hours of rest a week straight through. That's up from 36 hours. Next, how many times a pilot can land a plane at night? That got cut way down, from 6 landings to just 2. And the third big one, crews can now only work 2 night shifts in a row. So you can see how each of these things, when you add them up, means every pilot can fly fewer hours.
Well, with this much chaos, you know what happens next, right? The blame game. So who's actually at fault here? Is it the airline, the government?
Well, as you might expect, we're hearing 2 very different sides to this story. On one hand, you have the pilot associations. They're saying, look, IndiGo had 2 years to get ready for this. They knew it was coming, and they just failed to hire enough pilots. But then, on the other hand, IndiGo is saying these rules are way more complicated to implement than they look on paper, and they just need more time to adjust. They've even asked the government for an extension to sort things out.
But the accusation from the pilot side gets even more serious. They're basically suggesting this whole mess might be intentional. The idea is that by creating all this chaos and making passengers angry, the airline is trying to pressure the government, to arm twist them, into scrapping these new safety rules completely.
So with all this going on, an airline that seems understaffed, and these important new safety rules, where does that leave all of us? What happens next for the millions of people who need to fly?
I'm a butterfly!
Well, the good news is the DGCA, the Aviation Authority, has stepped in.
They've basically set IndiGo down and demanded immediate changes. They want a complete overhaul of how they schedule their crews, they want more ground staff to help passengers, and, this is a big one, they're demanding real-time, honest updates for travelers.
So, in response, IndiGo has put out a plan. They've promised to get everything stable again by February 10th. And how are they going to do that? Well, they're going to cut back on their flights for a little while. The idea is to reduce their schedule so it actually matches the number of pilots and crew they have available under these new stricter rules.
And really, this whole situation boils down to one fundamental conflict, doesn't it? It's that constant battle between convenience for us, the passengers, and the safety of the pilots flying the planes. After all the chaos we've just seen, it leaves you with a really big question. Is it even possible to get that balance right?